Hello everyone. This hour on Verbling, the next in my speaking skills series, we're working on speaking about pictures and describing themes. Well, describing pictures and speaking about themes is probably a better way to say it. In the last class, or the last few classes, what we've done is look at keywords and expressions we can use using pictures as a prompt. In describing the pictures, I've given you a technique to use to be able to quickly organize your thoughts, and then in that technique, you've learned how to speculate about what the pictures mean. In other words, to talk about the theme. Today, we're going to work on a more collaborative way of talking about pictures where you have to work with a partner. Okay, so we'll talk more about that in just a minute. First, a little bit about me. I'm Jon-Eric, your Verbling teacher for this hour. I'm an American teacher from New York, hanging out in Lisbon, Portugal to bring you this class. Here are 3 quick rules to help you participate. Don't forget to turn off, tune in, and open up, which means please turn off your microphone when you're not speaking so we can keep the classroom quiet. When you are speaking, tune in to the new words that you're learning. Use them as actively as you can so that I can give you feedback. And finally, last but not least, open up to your classmates. Relax and have fun. We're all here to learn, and this is a safe and respectful place to practice your English. And that is a little bit about me. I want to know a little bit about you. If I can get my camera on, let's see if I can get my camera working here. More or less. I have to just close the window a little bit so we can see each other. So, first of all, welcome back Yuki, Jason, and Giuseppe, regular students, returning superheroes, if I may say, and Cordo as well. Nice to have you back. Let's say hello to some people that I don't know. I've got Franco there on the left. Hi, Franco, how are you?
Hey, John, nice to meet you. Can you hear me?
I can. Loud and clear.
Yeah,
Where are you
I
from,
think
Franco?
this is my first class with you. I am from Italy.
Very
I
good.
live in North Italy, and my city is Bologna.
Bologna.
Yeah, I am 53 years old, and I am a healthcare assistant.
Very
And
good.
yeah, studying English is my favorite hobby.
Oh, me too. Studying it and teaching it. Okay, very good. And let's say hello. And Luo is here too. Welcome back, Luo. And let's say hello to Raphael. Hello, Raphael.
Hello, teacher. How are you?
And where are you from, Raphael?
I'm from Brazil.
From Brazil.
Yeah.
Bem-vindo à aula, Raphael.
Thank you very much.
There we go. Okay, so let's get started. Here's what I'm going to do. I've given you a link in the class materials, but in case you don't have it open, you can see it now in the chat window. There it is. And I'll also post it in the group chat, which is inside of the Hangout. I'm going to share my screen. By the way, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. When I'm sharing my screen, I can't necessarily see anyone in the room. So if anyone comes or goes, let me know, because otherwise I won't know it. Give me just a second here. What I'm going to do is make a new class for today. This is going to be class 17. By the way, for those of you who are new, not all the classes have been about describing photos. We've been working on different kinds of skills. Right now, the skill we're working on is not so much describing, but trying to quickly connect to a theme. Try to understand why you're looking at a certain image. It's a very useful skill just to generate language really quickly. But it's particularly useful if you're going to do an international exam like the TOEFL or the IELTS or the Beck Business English exam. So I think today is the 25th, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, 25th. And I'm going to call this part 3. Okay, and the difference from this class to the others is this time you're going to be working with a partner. So, first of all, you'll see on page let me go to the very top. When you open the document, you'll see speaking skills. You'll see our graphic. Then here, you've got the table of content on the second page for all of the classes. Where's my table of contents? Uh-oh. Updated. Well, I don't know why it's not updating. So, for some reason, table of contents is not working. Well, the new class isn't there, so you have to click on class 16 and then you'll be able to scroll up. But notice we have this set of instructions how to describe a photo or picture. I have some basic expressions for you to use. If you click on it, you go to page 4, and each expression is under a different part of our strategy. We've got 4 parts to our describing a photo strategy. Say what you see, guess about why, compare and contrast, and offer a preference. And you'll see some examples that we did together. So we're going to keep this in mind. And a second thing to keep in mind is all of our key expressions are in a mind map, which I put on page 3 where it says links and information. So you can open this yourself if you like. I'll share it with you today on screen, but you can open it yourself as well and use this, especially after class. If you want to practice, you can always open this up. So you might get this message that says, no preview available, download. So if you do that, you may have to make a free account with the program. This is part of Google Drive, but it's a separate app called MindMap. So you might have to create a free account, or you can download it and open it on your computer. I've already got an account, so I'm just going to sign in, and you'll see the map opening. Okay, let's wait till it opens all the way. Give me just a second here, it takes a minute. And the reason I'm showing you this is because each class, we're basically adding more material to our map. Okay, let me close all this so it's not confusing. To open and close, you press the key F. You click on one of these words, and you click F, and it'll open and close. Okay, I'm just going to open the basic ones. So you'll see English connectors, and around it, we've got all kinds of different linking words or connectors. We have cause, addition, comparison, contrast, conclusion, concession. Those are the basic linking words. You can remember them because they spell the word fanboys. For, and, nor, but, or is another comparison, yet, and so. Fanboys. So those are the basic connectors. Under each fanboy, you have a whole variety of words. So this is a way to organize your knowledge of structure. So for example, what are some synonyms of for that are a little bit more advanced? Well, click for, you click on the F key, it'll open. F is for furl and unfurl, or fold and unfold. And you'll see that for, we've got 2 types of connectors. We've got cause, expressing cause, and expressing purpose. And under cause, a simple way is using because or now. You might want to say now that. Maybe I should add that. Uh-oh, it's not letting me make any changes. Uh-oh, that's a problem. Maybe I have to save it. There we go. Now that, or since, or as. Those are simple cause connectors. If I click on the compound ones, that means 2 words. Click on the F key. It opens up. Is it opening? Hold on a second. My map is not letting me do things. Okay, what's going on? Come on, map. There we go. Let me close. Well, my map isn't cooperating very much, but there we go. So, because of, due to, owing to, out of, in view of. So all of these you can link back to the word for as a cause. And then you've got some purpose connectors we've identified already as well. Well, not too many. To do something, and so as not to, in order to, for X, Y, or Z, to, so that X, Y, or Z doesn't, for doing. We've got a few that we've done in the past. Okay? So the way this works is that you go to the map, and when you're preparing what you want to say, you just click open and close the connector that you want, and it'll give you a few choices. You can also use it to revise some writing you've done. You can use it to prepare, you can use it to correct, you can use it to revise. So it's just a reference tool. Okay? That's basically it. I'll just note two things. Time is in a separate category. I put it in blue because it's a different kind of connector. And discourse is a different connector too. That's about organizing what you want to say. And I've given you some openers and some transitions. So if you go back to, let me go back here. If you go back to our how to describe a picture, what you'll see is that I'm just applying the mind map in a particular way. I took some expressions off of the mind map and I put them here. So saying what you see, guess circulating why. Well, really when you go to step 3, compare and contrast, that's where you can see I've really used the mind map, because contrast is the same as but, right? Compare is more or less the same as nor and or. So you can go to the map and go to contrast. I don't know if I have any but words. Let's see. I might not have put them on the map. Whoops. No, I didn't. So let's put it right now. So some of the words that I've used in the past are contrast, whereas, conversely. So those are two. There's a lot of these, of course. So let's put a few that we've done so far. Whereas, conversely. Those are two that are on the screen, sorry, in your notes. Okay, but we've got more ways than just these. So I'm going to keep adding to the map, but you can refer to this page if it makes things easier because it's more concise. All right? So now that you have a general idea of what we're doing, let's add something new today. What I'm going to do is give you a new set of pictures right now and a new set of language. Give me just a second here. Yeah, okay. So what I'm going to do is, give me a second because I'm going to copy and paste a new set of pictures. Language cues. I have to make a quick note to myself about what my page numbers are. So I'll do that. Language cues, 147. And my pictures, I'm going to paste on screen for you. Hang on just a second here. Hang on one moment. Almost there. Uh-oh. Okay. Went past it. You know what? If I can't find the picture I'm looking for, I'm just going to give you something totally different. But I've got one in particular that I want you to use. Let's see if I can find it. Ah, here we go. Found it. Okay. Yeah, this is it. Okay. So let me see if I can copy and paste this. Rotate and copy paste. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put, yeah, I'm going to give you one set of pictures here. You'll see and below this. So you can see the one page. Hopefully this will work. Is it? Yeah, there we go. You can see the first set there, and the next set goes down. The view there, so you can see them all together. All right, there we go. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start off by doing what we did before, following our four-step method to describe individual pictures. Then we're going to work as a group in pairs, and once we get to the theme, you'll see how we're going to do this, but once we get to the theme, you're going to have to comment on what the other person said, and I'm going to give you some key expressions to help you do that. Okay? So remember, it's going to be say what you see, literally say a detail that you see, guess about why you're seeing it, compare and contrast, and offer a personal preference. So first we're going to try that. Let's go around the room. Maybe we can start with someone who's got more experience. So maybe I'll start with the people that have been in the class before. Well, Giuseppe, can I start with you? If you need to, you might want to open this on your computer so you can see the pictures large. But what I want you to do is, in fact, I'll try to make this a little bit bigger too. See if I can make it a little bit bigger. We're going to go around and describe one picture each first. I'll see if I can make these just a bit bigger for you. There we go. I want you to start in the upper left, okay? And I want you to try to follow the same four steps that we've been using for the last two classes, okay? So that means literally you can use one of these key expressions and go step by step. If you want me to do an example, I'll do it first. It's up to you. Do you feel ready, or do you want me to do an example?
I will try.
Okay. So let's go step by step. In the picture on the top left, say what you see.
In the picture over the top left, over the left top, top left, there appears to be a theater where some actors and actresses are playing comedy or a comedy relating to the Greek centuries, probably.
Maybe. Okay, good. So now you've said what you see. That's good enough. Now you're going to speculate about why you're being shown in step number 2. So now you're connecting it to a theme. So you're speculating about why you're seeing this. You can imagine that you're in an exam, right? Or you're doing a psychometric test to get a job, something like that. But what's the theme? By the way, you can kind of cheat and look at the other pictures and see if you can find something in common too, if you like. Okay, but you're going to try to get to the theme. Why are you being shown this picture? What does it have to do with? What's the relevance?
Well,
feel free to look at the other pictures if you need.
This is sort of a picture as in common, have in common a public,
right?
Have in common a public,
or an audience, even better.
An audience,
right?
An audience,
and so what? It's a good point, but what do you want to say about it? They all involve an audience in some way, and so.
Of course, the public, the audience are involved in looking at, in watching the comedy, or for example, looking at the fashion design or the events.
Okay, that's actually good enough. So if we go back to our list here, well, this appears to be some sort of a comedy. I see actors on a stage, perhaps doing a Greek drama. It looks like they're wearing 19th century costumes, so it could be, there's Greeks in the back, but there's kind of more 19th century costumes in the front, so maybe it's, I don't know, it could be a lot of things. But that's okay. See what you see. I suppose this picture shows one aspect of being in front of the public or having an audience. Okay, that's a good statement about why they're being shown the picture. Now, you can compare and contrast it to one other picture. And you only have to say one thing. You can compare and contrast it to one other picture that you see.
Okay, the picture that is familiar with me is the one down, the one left down, and
the one below, you mean?
The one below,
Right.
To the left.
Yeah.
It's familiar for me because when I used to take a flight, I used to I'm usually if I've been involved with the flight attendants.
Ordering a lot from the bar, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Another vodka, please. Okay, but you've got to compare and contrast, right? So both things have, or whereas the top picture is, or conversely, the picture below. See if you can use one of those key expressions to compare and contrast the two photos. We're talking about being in front of the public or having an audience.
Okay. The picture to the left top and the picture below to the left top, to the left, have both doesn't have something in common.
So the one on the top left and the one below have nothing in common?
Well, the one below.
Is there any theater involved in the one below? I mean, if you've ever had to wait tables, there's a certain amount of theater, I would say, but it's different than the theater on top, right? What do you think the difference is?
Well, the difference is that in the top we have a theater. Some actors is playing a comedy or something like that, and to the other side there is an audience, a public, someone he used to watch it.
Right.
And the picture below to the left.
Wait. Conversely.
Below. Conversely. Or whereas. In the picture below, there are flight attendants who are deal with the clients in serving some beverages, some foods, and what kind of audience or public are you dealing with? Is it different in any way? The audience above are very passive. The audience or the public below, there's some interaction, isn't there? Yeah, is an active interaction.
Absolutely.
Because the flight attendants have to liaise with the clients, ask what they are looking for, and ask to make a choice between pastry or, for example, pastry or biscuits, or, for example, orange juice or water, you know.
Right. So look, Giuseppe, let's add some expressions here, and then the rest of you can benefit from this as well, okay? So in comparing and contrasting, one of the things that you're going to be doing all throughout here is expressing an opinion, but I'll put it here in comparing and contrasting. maybe it's not the best place, but I'll put it here. Expressing an opinion. Okay, and I'll give you some things that you can say. Obviously, you can say, I think that. But if you're not 100% sure about what you're saying, it seems to me that. Why am I putting here? Because here, to compare and contrast, you're giving your own idea. Another thing, what I think is another thing you could say. It's quite clear that this one, I feel quite strongly that. Okay, so look, Giuseppe, just say the last thing you said, but use one of these expressing an opinion connectors. The last thing you said was about the passive audience on top and the audience, not the audience, but the passive public on top, and the interaction that has to take place in the one below. But I want you to use one of those key expressions to say that. Okay? It seems that, I think that, what is clear, any of those.
Okay, I think that the future, there is an interaction between the public and actors, and it is passive.
Right.
So it's a positive interaction.
Good.
Instead of an active interaction between a flight attendants and the clients.
Absolutely. That's it. That's it. And you added another key expression. You said in spite of. So let's add that to the list. In spite of, and it has a sibling, a brother or sister, which is despite. Despite. Usually, despite is followed by the ing form. In spite of doing or despite doing. Usually it's ing. Okay? So we even have a new contrast connector we can add to our list. Okay. Giuseppe showed you all how it's done. Let's go around the room. We're going to have to keep our comments a little bit short, okay? Because we want to get to the next stage where you're going to be comparing and contrasting with each other. So let's go around the room, pick a picture. Let's go from Giuseppe to, let's go right to left, or left to right, actually. So we'll go, let's see. Let's actually go back to Jason, Coro, Luo, Yuki, and then finally Franco. You'll be last because you've had less experience, okay? So you're going to do the same as Giuseppe. The only difference is try to keep it really short, maybe just one statement for each of these 4 steps, and actively use those key expressions where you can, okay? So Jason, you're next. If you like, you can pick the very next picture on the top right, okay? So you know you're going to be comparing with other pictures, but I want you to say what you see about the picture on the top right.
Okay. The picture on the top right, it seems to be a mannequin.
Seems to be a model.
A model.
Right. Mannequin for us is not alive. If you're alive, you're a model. If you're made of wood, you're a mannequin. So it's a model.
So, yeah. So the woman is walking. The models is walking on the stage.
Or maybe the catwalk. If it's a fashion show, we call that the catwalk that goes out to the audience. It is a stage, but when the stage goes out into the audience, it's called a catwalk. Just so you know. Okay? And let's make sure that you're using those key expressions. So there appears to be, there most likely is, it seems to be. I think you said it seems to be, right?
Yeah.
Okay? So if you're saying it, you've got to refer to the picture. If you're talking about the person, you have to say there seems to be. Okay, so you're going to talk about the model. So start again with there seems to be or there appears to be.
Oh, um, there seems to be walking on
Seems to
the.
be a model walking.
There seems to be a model walking on the
Catwalk.
catwalk.
Uh-huh. Okay, good. Next,
Um,
guess why. Speculate about why. There may be, I suppose, I'd imagine. And remember, you can cheat and look at the other pictures to get a sense of the theme. And Giuseppe already gave you a clue about that. He talked about audiences and the public. Okay? So next, what can you say about the theme? I suppose, there may be.
I suppose people in front of the models uh, take part in the show passively.
Ah, okay. Like theater.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's good enough. You only have to say one thing. Next, you're going to compare and contrast with another photo, and you can express opinion using, I think that it seems to me what I think is it's quite clear. So again, you've got contrast words, and you've got opinion connectors. Okay, so give me one comparison or contrast with another photo.
Okay. It's quite clear that in the picture on the bottom left,
Right?
we can hear no, you can hear music,
Okay, yeah.
whereas in the picture in the top right,
Right?
uh, we cannot hear a music.
We, in this case, you would say we don't hear.
Yeah, we don't hear a soundtrack.
Exactly. Right? So we don't, so it's possible we can, but we probably don't. It's possible. In fashion shows, they usually do have music, but it's not the same music as you see in the bottom left. Not usually a live band like that. It's a different kind of interaction. Okay? So last thing is you can express an opinion, and you can also give a personal preference. Okay? If you're going to express an opinion or make a preference, what would you say about those two pictures?
I would rather, if I had the choice between those pictures,
If I had to choose between those pictures,
if I had to choose between those pictures,
right?
I would rather take part the of the uh, of the of the show in the bottom left picture.
Right. I'd rather take part in the show in the bottom left. I'd rather take part in seeing a live band, seeing live music.
Seeing live band.
Because?
Because it sounds more. Because seeing live bands sounds more like fun than seeing models walking on the fat rock.
on the catwalk. Catwalk.
Okay.
Okay, very good. You said walking on the catwalk, right? Or were you talking about the soundtrack, the recorded music? Maybe I didn't hear you right. You were talking about the music or the interaction?
No, about the music.
About the music, right. It's better to see a live band than to hear recorded music like in the fashion show. Is that what you mean?
Yes. I would rather listening a soundtrack from a live band than a soundtrack from a fashion show.
Okay, good. By the way, in the band, there's no soundtrack. It's live, right? So if you're there at the show, it's live music. The soundtrack is only if it's been recorded, like the soundtrack of a movie. Okay, just to be clear. So sounds good. You went through all the stages. Let's add a skill now. Let's add a skill. What I'd like you to do from now on is I'd like you to comment on each other's pictures, on each other's comments, okay? So what we're going to do is you're going to describe the picture, but the next person is then going to pick up on what you said and agree, disagree, or make a suggestion, something like that. Because otherwise, if we don't get to this, we're going to run out of time. So I want to make sure we get to something new today. Okay, so what I'm going to do is give you kind of a part 2 here. This is the procedure for describing things. Let me see if I can make kind of part 2 here, which we're going to call procedure for discussing things. Okay, so it's not, you're still going to do what Jason and Giuseppe were doing, but we're going to add one skill. And let's say this you don't have to do in any particular order, okay? But let's say you're going to be agreeing or disagreeing, maybe suggesting, because you've got to comment on what someone else said. So these are the things that you could do. Agree or disagree, suggest a meaning or an opinion, justify or what you wanted to say, asking for an opinion, if you're not sure what to say. So again, I'm doing more or less the way you would do it in an exam, but you could apply this to almost any situation. Okay, so it's just a good skill to have. You don't have to be taking an exam. And what I'll do is give you one expression in each of these, right? And we're going to add more as we go along. So for example, I take your... So if you were responding to what Jason said, you might say, I take your point about live music, as an example. Okay, I'll give you more. Let's go on to suggestion. Imagine you're talking with a partner. This seems to me, whoops, I should say to me, not to be. This seems to me to be, and then you could say whatever you want. A good, whoops, a good idea, the right way to think about it. You can add whatever you want to that first expression. An example of justifying or clarifying. What I meant by X, Y, or Z. So there, if you're talking to someone else and they're commenting, they might not be exactly clear. So you might want to go back and say, oh no, well, what I meant by a soundtrack was the music that you hear in a fashion show, whereas in a band, it's live and it's more exhilarating, something like that. Finally, asking for opinion. Here's one. Do you... That should be... Okay, so these are some expressions to get you started. So let's turn it over now to let's go to Luo. Hello, Luo. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Who's next to Jason? Koro. Sorry, Koro. So, Koro, are you there?
Yes, I am
okay.
here.
Okay, fantastic. So, what I'll do is, why don't you see if you can, do you remember what Jason said more or less? Do you recall what he was saying?
Sorry, teacher?
Do you recall what Jason was saying about those two pictures? Do you remember? Okay, great. So what I'd like you to do is pick up on one of his points using our procedure for discussing things and using one of those expressions. You can also add an expression, but I'd like you to start by using one of those expressions. So the easiest thing to do is agree or disagree. Okay? So what do you agree or disagree with what Jason was saying? Can you pick up a point that you remember?
I think so, more or less.
Okay.
I agree with Jason.
Wait, let's try that expression.
Yes.
Look at the one that I gave you here. See it?
I take the point.
I take
His
your
point.
Yeah, I take his point. Well, imagine you're talking directly to him. So it's a
Okay.
little bit easier.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I take your point, and you might say about if you need to.
Yes.
Okay, go for
About
it.
I take your point about the picture left top.
On the top right, the catwalk, you mean?
No, on the top left.
Oh, that was Giuseppe
Ah, sorry.
about the theater. But
Okay.
okay, if you prefer to talk about the theater, it's okay.
There must be a very interesting theater play, for example.
So Giuseppe said
Yes.
that in the theater, the
Yes.
audience is very passive. There's no interaction. Whereas if you're on a flight, there's got to be interaction between the public and the people who are performing. They're not really performing, but it's a little bit like a performance to be a waiter or waitress or flight attendant. So you have to make a point about that, right? Because we're talking about the theme of the picture. Okay, so you might say, for example, well, I take your point about waiting on people as being a kind of performance. Now I want to go back to my expressions. Maybe I agree, right? So I say, I take your point about people performing is sort of like being in theater. This seems to be a good way of thinking about it. Because when you're waiting on people, whether you're at a restaurant or a flight attendant on a plane, you're wearing a kind of a costume, and you're there to have people have them have a good experience. You've got to put on sort of a little bit of a performance wear, kind of a mask. So that could be one way to agree with what Giuseppe said. Okay?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's
So
not easy for me. Sorry.
yeah, I know. But
Okay.
I'm here to give you some key expressions and to show you how it's done. The only thing I ask is that we focus on what the pictures mean as much as possible. Talk about the theme, because we can all relate to these experiences. Okay?
Okay.
So Kuro, why don't you go ahead and agree or disagree with one of the points that either Giuseppe or Jason made, and then you're going to go on to describe another picture. Okay?
Yes. Let me see what I think. What are the opinions? Sorry, let me see the list from. Yes.
Which part? Up here?
This seems to me to be a good thing. What you say, can I say, or something? So.
Sure, yeah. This seems to be a good thing. What you said seems to me to be
What
a
you
good
said.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No more. I cannot see more today, teacher.
All right. Do you want to, well, we're running out of time, so let's do this. Let's go on to Luo.
Yes, better.
Okay? So Luo, what I want you to do is we're going to go through those 4 steps, and Yuki is going to comment on what you say, okay? So you can pick a new picture. It doesn't matter which. I can't get them all on screen, but maybe I can scroll down a little bit so you've got some new choices. Okay?
Yes, I can do this, but before I had some work to do, so maybe I missed something.
Okay.
Maybe,
so look.
Okay.
If you go back here,
Hmm?
if you go back here on the top, it says procedure for describing things. So you're using the key expressions in these 4 steps. So that's the part that you missed. So when describing, you want to begin with saying something that you see. There appears to be people in a theater. guessing about why. I suppose when you're in theater, you don't have a lot of interaction with the audience directly, like you might in when you're waiting tables. Like you've got to have interaction with the public. Whereas in the picture on the top, this is what Giuseppe said. Whereas in the picture on the top, the audience tends to be a bit passive. In the picture below, they have to actively make a choice and interact with the people that are, well, quote, performing, you know, in quotes. They're not really performing, but you get the idea. If I had to choose, well, I definitely choose being on a flight because I like the complimentary drinks at the I wish they do that at theaters. I go to the theater every day. I don't know. So if you just express a preference, you can go to number 4. Okay? So let me go back to the pictures. Pick a picture that we haven't spoken about. Try to go through those 4 steps, and then Yuki is going to go back and comment on one point that you've made. Okay?
It seems to me the picture in the bottom right.
Good.
There is a soccer football player, and she's very proud of his maybe his team or his score.
He appears to be very proud. He appears.
Yeah. It appears
He appears.
He appears very proud of his score of the previously match because he stepped on a football and looked very proudly. I don't know.
Absolutely. It's good. It's good. Yeah. So go back here to guess about why. I suppose, I'd imagine. Here, it will help if you start to compare it to another picture. So what's the important thing we should take from this image? What's the important thing?
Yeah, I suppose to be it will be he just won a match with against his opponent team.
Okay, and keep this in mind as well. All of these pictures are about being in front of the public in some way. So, right? So we've got theater in front of a big audience. We've got waiting the public. We've got live music, and we've got sports. What does this have to do with a public? What does this have to do with it? Yeah.
Yes, he wants to show his proud in front of the mass audience in the stadium.
Okay, good. It seems so. I suppose when you're playing sports, we can maybe generalize a little bit. I suppose when you're playing sports, you're showing your pride, right? Because it's like with the World Cup, you know, it's a way to get the nations. It's their national team, so it's a way to get them to rally behind something that's national, or your local team is to rally the community, right? So it's a way to show pride to a mass audience. Great. Okay. And next, you're going to compare and contrast with another photo with one of those key expressions. Both things have, whereas one picture has, conversely the other, or in spite of, despite any of those expressions, and your opinions are down there below. Okay?
Yes, all of those pictures are in public and have audience. In spite of the picture on the left, bottom left, the audience, we can see audience, but in the bottom right, we can see lots of audience surrounding this football player. Even we can see them clearly because they are too small.
Okay, very good. So let's say that again with a contrast connector. Whereas, start with whereas. Whereas. Yeah.
Whereas when we cannot see any audience in the bottom left
Right?
picture.
Yeah. And
Yes.
then in the
Then-
one on the right, we see
In the
what?
bottom right, we see lots of audience surrounding this football player in the stadium.
Exactly. So whereas we don't see an audience on the bottom left, but there is one, in the bottom right, we see the audience and they surround us if we're the sports player. So in both cases, it's a mass audience, but the way you interact with them is different. Okay, last thing we're going to do, well, actually, here's the thing. Verbling wants me to end the classes a minute or two early so that I can begin the next classes right at the top of the hour. So I think we're actually going to have to cut things a little short this time. Hang on just a second here. Let me get my camera back on. One second. Okay, there we go. So I think what we're going to do is this. I think we're going to have to stop at this point. I'm going to begin the next class, but what I can do is I can give you a little homework where you could try this. You can either be the one commenting on a point that was made earlier, or you can be the one describing what you see. You can do it as a short writing, send it to me, and I'll correct it. And I can send you a link to this in the message server so that you have both examples of what we said and a link to our mind map if you want to use it. And I will try to update the mind map later today as well. Okay? So let me stop the class here. I'll turn it over to you to try homework if you'd like. And we can take the results of that and pick it up with a new set of pictures. And the next class will probably be the last one we're going to do with pictures. We're probably going to be moving on to a different speaking skill. But I want to give everyone one more class to try to put everything together with a new set of photos and see how it works. Okay? So I'll be back in just a minute for the business class. We're finishing our unit on how to make a good impression. I'll be back in just a minute. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, teacher. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.